Hey, here we are. It's Thursday night, back in the kitchen, and look, I actually got a tripod, so I'm cooking with both hands. So tonight we're going to have a creamy spinach and mushroom sauce with tagliolini. So here's the tagliolini. You can see it looks like fettuccine, except it's thinner. So this is going to take 7 minutes for these little nests to cook. So let me just get those started into our boiling salted water. I'm going to give that a quick little stir, get those moving around, crank up the heat. And now let's talk about mushrooms. So let me just move this a little bit so you can see that in the pot, I've got 8 ounces of button mushrooms and 3 small shallots cooking in there. And for those of you who don't know, this is a shallot, or sometimes you get double ones, so like here's half of a shallot, and these are related to the onion family, part of the allium. And then in our mushrooms, we have those going, but then we also are using porcini mushrooms. And so oftentimes you'll see these like little bags in the store, and you don't know what they are because, you know, it's written in Polish. So Slaveczny, and maybe Keith Kaleba will correct me on that, that means porcini. So we've taken the porcini mushrooms out of the package, boiled some water, and let them soak until they become nice and pliable. So I don't want to lose any of that juice, so I'm going to take the mushrooms out onto the cutting board. And then this liquid is very flavorful. So now I've got a measuring cup here, got a little sieve, lined with a paper towel, just because you might have a little grit in there. So let's just set that aside. We'll let that drain. So before I cut up the mushrooms, I'm going to take those that have been sauteing. The heat's on a little high. So I'm going to add into that half a cup of beef broth. And our all-time favorite, just a little cream. Actually, this week I'm using half and half. So we're going to let that boil down, let that reduce a little bit. So we got that going. This is only going to take, with that high heat, maybe a minute, 90 seconds or so to start reducing. This recipe I actually discovered in Bon Appetit in March 1990. I actually have that written down on my little recipe card. And this mushroom spinach sauce was developed for them to be putting over protein, actually. So it's great over scallops. You can put it over grilled lamb. You can put it over some gently sauteed chicken breasts. But then I realized that the flavor, the umami in this is so good that I wanted it over pasta as well. So just adapted it a little bit to make it a nice pasta sauce. Let's let that cook for a while. I'm going to check on the pasta. It's breaking apart nicely. So we'll let that go. And we see the sauce in that pan is looking well. So now I'm just going to turn my attention to the dried mushrooms. Just put them here. They're nice and pliable. Give them a little chop. So, because of the mushrooms, this does really have a lot of umami flavor to it, so it's a real earthy flavor. So with that, sometimes we like to add in a little grated nutmeg. And I don't know, have you ever seen this? This is a nutmeg grater. So basically you're just going to take the lid of the can I keep it in and just do a little scraping. Maybe going to put in maybe 1/8 to 1/4 teaspoon into the pasta. You know, again, this is such an earthy sauce that if you want to, aside from adding in, of course, Parmesan cheese at the end, you can also add in a few blue cheese crumbles. Let's take a look at this. Is reducing nicely. Let's take a look. Can you see that in there? Really boiling away. So I think at this point, I'm going to add in 5 ounces of spinach. That's going to cook down rather quickly, and it'll cook down even more quickly if you put the lid on it. Pasta's looking great. So, fall's coming up. It's time to be out in your garden harvesting, you know, last little bits of things like your sage. You know, and even if you cut off that plant at the root, or not at the root, the bottom of the stem, you might want to take that, hang it upside down, put it in your basement, because you don't want it in a moist area. Some people like to, you know, hang them over their stoves, and every time you boil a pot of water, they all get rehydrated, so that's going to make it lose its flavor. So hang them in your basement, and comes Thanksgiving, you have this great fresh sage that you grew that you're going to add to your stuffing. So that's that about that. You know, other things, time to harvest the last bit of basil, make a little pesto, freeze them in little containers. Always nice to have that little bit of stuff. You can do it in your, if you even still have ice cube trays, because I know we all have ice cube makers, you can freeze them in that as well. Let's take a look at the spinach. So, let's take a quick look in there. That's all cooked down nicely. If this does happen to get too dry, which I'm pretty sure it's not going to, you can always add in more cream. You could add in more beef broth, or in this case, just to give it that flavor, I'm going to add in some of that wonderful mushroom stock. So I got about a cup there. I'm just going to put maybe about 1/4 cup in there. So that's in there. I have my rehydrated porcini mushrooms. Get them in there, heat them up a little bit. And yes, dangerous, not dangerous. Look, I'm not cutting myself. Gonna sprinkle in that nutmeg. That's looking great. Okay, nobody scream. I love blue cheese. I know some people hate blue cheese. I'm just going to put in, I don't know. I'm going to say that's probably 2, maybe 3 tablespoons. Just going to let that melt a little bit. Let's move you a little closer. Take a look in there. Hopefully the phone won't drop. That pasta's looking great. Feels great. Usually you can tell by the color, but let's give it the old taste test. Okay. 30 seconds more. I'm going to reduce the heat on the sauce. And again, you notice I'm not going to drain the pasta. I'm going to take it right from here, drain it with the tongs, put it in there, because that little bit of starchy pasta water is also good for a sauce. So some of the things we're going to look at in the next coming weeks is, you know, it's fall. Hard squash is going to come in to season, like butternut squash, acorn squash, all those great types of hard squashes. And it's just really great to peel it, cube it, roast it, and then make one of those sauces we made earlier in this season with a simple aglio olio. But then I would definitely add in the fresh sage leaves. Get them a little crunchy, add in some toasted walnuts, and you have a delicious fall meal. Just reach over here. That pasta is done. Let's see how this is going to look. Let some of that water drip off. Put it in the pasta. It'll continue to cook a little bit. And I think that's looking pretty darn good. Give that a nice little spin. Okay, how does that feel? It's not clumpy. There's enough liquid in there. When I go to reheat it for lunch tomorrow, I might add a little more of that mushroom water or some of the beef stock to it. But that's looking pretty darn good. You know, the cheese, of course, gave that a little thickener to it, but where is it? Here it is. Of course, we have some freshly lovely grated Romano cheese to put on there. Nice little finishing touch. Anyway, that is it for this Thursday. It's going to be a busy weekend in Chicago, or at least in Oak Park. I'm going for a bike ride, probably Sunday afternoon. If you want to meet up at the Roby House in Hyde Park, we'll go past Obama's house, the best president that there was in our generation. And see you around. Bye.